Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this month's edition of the Arkansas Broadband Leaders Network Call, or ABLN. Glad you could join us on this Friday. Really good content this morning, and look forward to getting into it and discussing with you. All right, so we'll have sort of broad program updates this morning, really focused around the BEAD program. So we'll talk about that. Then Ryan on our team will take a look at broadband access gains as reported by some of the data that has come out from the FCC. Recently, there's always delays in their data reporting, so it's from the second half of 24, but it gives good insight into the progress that's being made across the state, so he'll talk about that. Then our content for today, we'll have Chris Adams from The Conductor talk about some of their programming. That'll be very interesting. And then we'll open up for Q&A regarding anything that we've talked about over the course of the call or anything else. If anyone is new is joining us today, please feel free to enter questions within the chat box as we go, or come off of mute when we get to the Q&A part of the call. And so essentially, we'll aggregate any questions you may have and try to answer and go through them during the Q&A portion of the call. Okay, so first we'll look at BEAD program updates this morning at the state and the federal level. First up, state level. For us, I think last month, Noah let you know on that particular call that our first batch of BEAD awards was going before ALC for legislative sort of appropriation approval last month on the call. That was successful. We were able to get essentially 14 of our awardees to receive appropriation approval, basically, in short, allowing our office to spend money and disperse funding to these awardees in the BEAD program. So that was successful, received approval for these 14, as you can see on the screen. So what does this represent on a sort of statewide basis? So getting these 14 ISPs through Legislative Council for appropriation approval last month, $125.1 million in grant funding to these providers, $159 million in committed match, okay, for a total project cost for just these 14 providers alone, $285 million there. These 14 ISPs are going to cover 51,481 homes and businesses and community institutions as well, CAIs that are part of that group. Average cost grant per location in this bunch, a little over $2,400, which again is amazing. We think about the state of Arkansas, we think about two different mountain ranges, right? The fact that these locations are remaining are some of the least dense locations in the state. Essentially, the locations that we're getting in the BEAD program are the most expensive locations in the state. Okay, that's why they still remain and still lack access. And to have a grant cost per location at that level speaks volumes. And so, again, really good program. These 14 represent, and the locations that they're going to in their projects represent 64% fiber/coax. The 99% of that is fiber. 25% LEO satellite between Starlink and Amazon, and 11% with next generation fixed wireless for those locations. Remaining at the state level here, a couple of things wanted to let you know. So as of yesterday, March 19th, our grant agreement for 12 of the 14 providers was made available for them to review within our online portal system. And we do think that we can execute multiple grant agreements. In the next week or two, we have a handful. I think we have 3 or 4 of those 14 that are ready to go, that are ready to sign grant agreements. There's things that they have to do in the back end and provide to us, and we have to do a review of that documentation prior to executing a grant agreement. But we have 3 or 4 that are good to go and ready to execute. So we think we can get those signed in the next week or two. Excited about that. And then quickly, non-deployment reset. I just want to remind everyone what the deal is on non-deployment. So remember, right, our team, the state, of Arkansas, was awarded a little over $1 billion, in the BEAD program. To date, when you look at holistically, not just the 14 from last month, but 3 additional providers that are part to date of the program, about 305 million has been tentatively awarded to those ISPs to get the last mile built out, to get internet built out and upgraded to those 79,000 plus locations, leaving 650 million-ish, as of today, in excess funds in the program, or quote unquote non-deployment funds, as has been the buzzword the last several years. Now, although it's not yet official, and in theory could always change, we now feel pretty confident that the state will be able to keep the non-deployment dollars or excess funding in this program and utilize it. So that feeds into this next slide with our updates at the federal level. Couple of notes here that impact kind of non-deployment side of things, or the excess funds. So NTIA has not yet released its report, at least as of this morning when we started the call, has not yet released its report on state level artificial intelligence or AI laws interpreted by the federal government as being onerous. There's a couple of definitions within the president's earlier executive order from 4 months ago. The administration put out an executive order around this issue and said, basically charged NTIA with assessing AI laws at the state level that had been passed and enacted across the country, and that those that met a couple of definitions would be kind of interpreted as onerous, and with that could potentially impact the availability of non-deployment funds for states. So basically what it does is it says, look, we're going to review the country, each state, territory, look at the laws on the books for relative to AI, those that we think are onerous and meet that particular definition within the EO, we may withhold non-deployment funding from those states, if that's the case. We don't think that's going to be an issue in Arkansas, probably not affected by that. Don't expect that at all. But in short, that report, by NTI was supposed to be released on March 11th, which was, you go back to look at the EO, there's a 90-day timeline. 90 days from the EO was March 11th. Now, NTI did not release that, yet. They're still working on it, and currently TBD on when they're going to get that out. Why am I talking about that? Because it was expected, that the report around the AI law at the state level would come out, and then the revised guidance around non-deployment would come out at the same time, either, right kind of side by side at the same time, or within the next day or two after that. So the first one didn't come out, and then the non-deployment guidance did not come out. And so that week we were expecting both, neither did. And the Assistant Secretary of U.S. Commerce had signaled that there would be a delay in a press release they put out that's linked for you. You can read it. And with that, NTIA also held several listening sessions around non-deployment usage and allowable uses of funding. And they put together a document that sort of summarized their viewpoint of what they heard from states, from providers, from industry, and other stakeholders. That's linked for you as well. So please take a minute if you have. Once NOAA sends out the update via email later today, feel free to click on these and read through them. Let me see, do I have? Yeah, so to summarize this one, basically we were supposed to get some guidance. It didn't happen. It could be any time, we don't know. It's TBD, but we'll be ready. We'll move quickly, and we'll still do everything in our power to make sure that we are able to leverage and utilize this funding as best we can. I didn't type out kind of notes on this. What do we think it may look like? Everything that we've heard to date, and again, this can change, until things are official. The expectation, at least as of today, kind of in the background, is that when they put out guidance around non-deployment, that it will include some version of what they're calling a cleanup round for locations, As some of you on the call may know, there are other grant programs out there, in addition to what the state has done until today. Some of those programs have seen defaults, FCC has a program, the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund, or RDOF program. Some of those grantees across the country have defaulted, and other programs, there have been defaults as well. Long story short here, we think there will be an opportunity should locations like that exist in Arkansas, and there are some. We will be able to include those into another BEAD grant round. Okay, so we think NCIA is going to give the states, including Arkansas, the opportunity to go back out and look at the map again and at least pick up locations that have been defaulted in other programs and use some of our remaining 650 to go and grant those locations. Okay, we think that will be included. Other than that, there's a whole lot of speculation, a whole lot of menu items, so to say, out there. We'll just have to kind of wait and see what they come out with. But we do think the expectation again is that we will be able to go and get other homes and businesses that have been part of a different grant program and have been defaulted on. We think we can go get those in this program. And if you want to talk about more about this or have specific questions on that kind of concept, we can talk about it during the Q&A. Quickly, immediate timeline for BEAD. You've seen a version of this last couple of calls, no real changes. Again, batch one complete, approved last month through ALC. Talked about that. Again, handful of grant recipients are ready to go, so we should be able to sign those quickly. ISPs will have to do some environmental review as part of the BEAD program, and that's a Q2 estimate, so really April through June. Okay, we think that can be completed for some of them, and then ultimately, once all that's done, they would receive a notice to proceed from our office, and construction can begin. And we think, again, Q2 is our goal for that, so sometime between next month and June to have shovels in the ground on the BEAD program. Okay, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan this morning. He's going to go through some FCC data for you, a couple of fancy charts for you to look at on the next couple of slides. Again, we're looking at broadband access gains in counties and census tracts in Arkansas during the second half of 24. Good morning, Ryan.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you, Glenn. So for one of the ABLN discussions last June, Cam went over the FCC's semi-annual Internet Access Services Report that looked at the state of Internet access as of June 2024. We recently got our hands on the most recent report in February that went over the December 2024 data. So I did some data analysis on a specific piece of that, comparing the two reports to give us something of an update to that original discussion. So what we're looking at specifically here is the number of and change in households with fixed access to broadband. The FCC's data recorded this as a percentage of households in each county, or on the right-hand graph's census tracts, that had a fixed connection of at least 100 by 20. For the data columns that shrank, the red line section shows the reduction in areas in that given column, with the remaining column being the current number, while for columns that grew, the green line section shows the positive change, with the blue and green sections being the new number. So between June and December, to start, you can see where we had a meaningful reduction in counties showing up on the lower end of connectivity. While in June, you had the sizable majority of counties somewhere between that 20 to 60% connected range. We finished December instead with the majority moving up to the 40 to 80% connected range. This trend shows up even better when examining census tracts, where you can see we have over 100 census tracts that showed that same 20% bump. Notably as well, when looking at both the tracts and counties, you can see the number of our most connected areas, that 80 to 100% range, it firmly overtakes the amount of our least connected areas, entering December with just a single county only having 1 to 20% fixed connectivity. Next slide, please. Yep. Next, I wanted to look at how we compare to our regional peers. So I changed the data from a direct count of the areas to instead how big a percentage of the total county or tract count that each category takes. Our regional peers in this instance are all of the states that we border, except for Texas, which due to its size and population was more of an outlier than, say, Tennessee or Louisiana. The gray columns are all of the regional peers grouped together, and the blue columns are our numbers, with the darker shades being the June numbers and the lighter shades being the December numbers. The first takeaway about this comparison is how ahead of our peers we are on the starting line, where you can see that we had about 7% fewer counties and 5% fewer census tracts that had either no households or up to 20% with fixed broadband access. Looking at the middle range of percentages, we pull ahead in terms of moving areas up from that 20 to 40% range and into the 40 to 80% range. This shows up a little better on the county level than the census tract level, but even there you can see we still make or maintain a lead in everything but that top grouping where we're still competitive. Next slide. All right, and then finally, I looked at how we compared nationwide with the same formatting as the regional look. The trends largely follow the regional analysis, though I'm happy to report that even nationally we have an outsized reduction in areas at just 20 to 40% fixed access, and we keep a firm lead in that 40 to 80% range. The national numbers for the top connectivity category do keep their lead over us, though even then we've been able to keep up with the nationwide rate of growth in that column. In the overall, the data shows that we have a more mature picture of the landscape for expanding fixed broadband access, where we're seeing everyone moving into better connectivity across the board. Considering that we're seeing these kinds of movements in just a 6 month time span, we have a lot to be proud of regarding how the state's connectivity is growing.
All right. Thank you, Ryan, for that detail on the access gains in Arkansas. And again, right, this is second half of 24. And so really, it's a year and a half behind, which is not not shocking news, right? We're talking about the FCC releasing their data, kind of always in arrears. But in any event, good signals here, good data, and you have everything to be proud of. All right. So with that, again, thank you, Ryan, for that. We're going to throw it over to Chris Adams with the Conductor organization, and they're going to talk about some of the programming that they have going on with the Conductor. Good morning, Chris. Oh, see, you're on mute.
Good morning.
There we go. Hey, Chris, I'm assuming you have like a PowerPoint.
Yes.
This morning.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
I'll go ahead and stop sharing this, and you can take over. Good morning.
All right. Thank you so much for the invitation to be on the call and share a little bit about what we do with Arise. Arise is a program of the Conductor. The Conductor is a public-private partnership with the University of Central Arkansas and Startup Junkie. If you're unfamiliar with the entrepreneurial support landscape that exists in the state, Startup Junkie was begun in 2008 as a means to help startups grow and scale here in the natural state. Since its inception, we have expanded from our offices in Northwest Arkansas under Startup Junkie to an office in Conway that serves Central Arkansas called the Conductor. And Arise is our first statewide program to support entrepreneurs across Arkansas. What we do specifically is we work with tech and tech-enabled startups. If you all are familiar with the previous Innovate Arkansas program that was run by Winrock, when that program went back out to bid, Startup Junkie won it, and with the Arkansas Economic Development Commission, we have rebranded our work as Arise for Arkansas innovators, startups, and entrepreneurs. For sort of a shorthand version of what we do, we like to liken ourselves as the ultimate cheat code for your startup. And so what we do is we help founders grow and scale across the natural state with a handful of services that we provide. The first is that we offer one-to-one coaching and consulting. So on calls just like this, we sit down with entrepreneurs one-on-one, learn a little bit about their business and about how we can help. We provide tailored advice and guidance because we know that one of the big gaps for growing businesses that may have 1 to 10 employees is that they just don't have a good team or a good support structure to help them make the critical decisions that they need to. The second thing that we offer is a large expert network. So we connect with about 60 different experts across the state who can speak into the startup life cycle and the journeys of these founders. So we have individuals in lots of different disciplines. This is just a sample of them. Like I mentioned, we're over 60 some odd now. These individuals have backgrounds from former founders that have had successful exits to people with general business area expertise like HR, sales, and marketing, to deep tech expertise like AI, cybersecurity, health tech, med tech, former Walmart buyers, and then people with advanced manufacturing expertise as well. And so with this expert network, we can speak into just about any situation that a startup has in the state and help them get on their feet. The third thing we offer is help navigating when and how to access capital. A lot of our startups are eager to find other financial means to support their ventures. Sometimes this looks like traditional loans. or connecting with the CDFIs that exist across the state. For other more scalable startups, it can look like securing angel investors, venture capital backing, or pursuing nationally funded SBIR research grants to help grow their businesses. We also make lots of business and industry connections. Many of our founders don't have giant networks or know who they should be connecting with across the state of Arkansas, so we help facilitate a lot of those conversations. And then we do tons of virtual and in-person events. I hope that some of you may have been to at least one Startup Junkie or Conductor event over the years. If you haven't, we do a massive startup crawl on the Fayetteville Square annually, which is a beer crawl with lots of different small business owners and startups featuring their companies. I highly recommend that if you're in Northwest Arkansas in October, you swing by and check that out. Like I mentioned, this is what our expert network looks like. And you'll notice that to connect with each of these experts, we are not scheduling in-person meetings. Everything is driven through Calendly for virtual consultations with our clients. This is case in point why broadband access is critical, not just for the services we provide, but for the founders that we serve. If you are growing your tech in rural parts of Helena, Corning, Stuttgart, just like a lot of our companies are, they need this critical access to broadband in order to not just engage with us, but to engage with people who may be potential customers, clients, and investors as well. We also have developed a really interesting online social portal that is closed. So imagine like what a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group was supposed to be. And it now encompasses our companies, our experts and all, so that they can share their news, their wins, and connect with each other statewide to get support. Again, none of this is done without broadband access so that they can meet other founders, have some people who are in the trenches with them, and learn from their peers about what works and what doesn't as they try to grow and scale. Over our just now about 2 years coming up in June, we've had 214 different startups enroll in the program and done over 1,300 consults, made over 1,000 referrals, and you all will bump me up to 350 outreach meetings that we've had promoting our services and what we do across the state. Probably the most exciting thing I can share with you, and this is just a handful of our companies, and I will go ahead and drop this in the chat as well, because what's so unique about this slide is that you can click through and see some of these companies that are actually building and scaling in here across Arkansas, and you can check out some of the work they do. So a real quick sort of introduction to a few of them here on the top row. We've got a health tech company here on the far right, Path Fertility, that has a male infertility test. When they give their pitch, they often say that male infertility is a women's health issue because so many hopeful mothers undergo treatment that is expensive and ineffective when the problem is on the male end of the equation. We also have the Carbon Chicken Project that takes chicken refuse from our many poultry companies across the state and turns it into biochar so that it can be used as fertilizer. Waypave is a SaaS staffing solution that helps connect hourly workers with the jobs they're looking for. And then you all mentioned AI earlier. Ask Steve here is one of our really interesting AI startups that I'm not sure if you can actually see it as I'm sharing my screen, but there is a bar to the right-hand side with a little lightning bolt and icon. That is actually their plugin that they use to almost put ChatGPT and other LLMs directly in your browser so you never have to jump back and forth. I will add too that one company here that specifically relies on very, very good internet access to make their platform work is actually Smart Eye Technology. Smart Eye has a very interesting system where you can open and share documents with the caveat of it being for your eyes only. And what it does is continuous facial recognition, so that if someone were to peer over your shoulder, or if you were to step away from your screen, what that would do is it would turn off the document so that only you're the one who's able to look at it and its sensitive data. They're actually deploying this in financial institutions and healthcare institutions in Arkansas and beyond. And it is a pretty cool system if you all want to check it out. Arise caters specifically to, as I mentioned, tech or tech-enabled clients. Tech-enabled is a little bit of a Pandora's box, but the way we like to describe that is it is any company that is leaning into technology heavily to deploy and sell their product. What that can look like on the previous tab I'll share is G&H Decoys. They are a great Arkansas company, as an example, that's not a pure technology company, since they create duck decoys here in Arkansas, but they do rely on advanced plastics manufacturing to produce those. And if you are a duck hunter and you haven't heard of G&H Decoys in Corning, highly recommend you use that link to check out their site. So a company needs to be tech or tech-enabled, and like I said, that's kind of a very loose parameter with the tech-enabled piece. They do need to be scalable, so not a mom or pop shop that only wants to stay in one business location on like the Fayetteville Square or a downtown sort of location. They need to want to grow exponentially, hopefully with statewide, nationwide, and maybe even international impact, and they need to be Arkansas-based. The onboarding process is relatively simple. They click to apply for our program, they fill out a form and do an onboarding call with me, and we get them directly plugged in. So I'd like to say that we are very, very grateful for the work that you all do to connect our companies and our startups across the state with the broadband services they need to be successful in launching, growing, and scaling their platforms, connecting with the people who use their services, connecting with their investors. They could not do their work without you, which is why it is such a critical piece of Arkansas infrastructure for the success of economic development as it relates to startups, since the majority of net new job growth happens through these new companies that are born here in the state. And we're very grateful for the work y'all are doing. Any questions about our program or what it looks like and how you all might be able to plug in?
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Chris. Let's go see if there's any. First, we'll start with Q&A around Arise, if there's anything there, and then if not, we'll move into Q&A on other topics within the call. Very interesting. I've been thinking about something for a while, so I may have to reach out to you guys on something. Yeah. But no, very interesting. Thank you for that. Anything for Chris on Arise this morning? Give it a minute or two.
Well, Glenn, I'll add, based on what you said, if you guys are toying with the venture, we work from the idea stage forward. So if anyone on the call knows an entrepreneur that has an idea or has a fully functional business already, we will work with anyone in any industry at any stage. So if you've got an idea you want to play around with and see if it might be able to take off here in Arkansas, we'd love to have a conversation.
Very good. Let's take a look at the chat box, make sure I'm not missing anything. I don't think we are, but let's just take a second and see. Everybody's got a note taker these days. Let's see. All the note takers. Okay, the link that you put in just a second ago. And then all of the 30-minute warnings for the basic auto plans. Okay, any questions, anything else we covered this morning? Yeah, Allie, good morning.
Good morning, Glenn. I just wanted to share something that Communities Unlimited is doing. We're having next week, I'm going to pop it in the chat. We're doing a USDA Getting Ready for the Distance Learning and Telemedicine grant webinar, And we have a USDA representative that's going to be coming and speaking about the grant program. So if anybody would be interested in joining, I'm going to pop the information in the chat, and my email is at the bottom. Feel free to email me and I can send you the invitation link. Or if you know a healthcare professional or a educational professional that might be interested in joining. So basically the USDA Distance Learning and Telemedicine program connects doctors' offices and schools to rural communities, and you can create hub sites and connect through a larger institution to connect a rural community to a larger institution. So I'm going to pop that in the chat now. And like I said, my email's at the very, very, very bottom. It's allie.milligan@communitiesu.org. Feel free to email me and ask for the meeting invitation, and I'll send it to you. And I think also, I don't know if Cam's on. I haven't seen him, but Cam has the flyer. So if you can't get it, if you can't find me or find my email, feel free to reach out to Cam Gomez, and he should be able to give you the flyer also.
No, that's great information, Allie. Thank you for bringing that up. We'll make sure that NOAA includes that information as part of our packet out today to all the folks. That's really good information. So thank you for bringing that up. And yeah, I think we've had some illness be ripping through the office the last week or two. The Cam's at home today, and I'll probably be heading home in just an hour or two.
Okay.
But yeah, no, thanks for calling that out, and good information, and we'll spread it through our channels too. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Let's see, and Chris again added some links there for his team. Anything else on any of the other broadband office related stuff this morning? And we'll sit tight for just a little bit, just in case. Every once in a while, someone's typing out a really long one, and gotta make sure we have time for that, just in case. On a side note, wouldn't it be great if there was just one like dedicated federal agency that was responsible for all federal broadband grant programs? Wouldn't that make life a little easier? I think so.
I think so also.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
Glenn, this is Hunter Goodman.
Hey, Hunter. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning. I'm driving, so I can't type, but so forgive me. I'm just going to say it. To clarify, so you were saying around the non-deployment that some of the language and just waiting on some of the feedback or the decisions, that's going to come out in the email from NOAA, so we can take a deeper look at some of that. Is that correct?
Yeah, so in a nutshell, Intel has not yet released their revised guidance on non-deployment. They were supposed to 2 weeks ago and didn't. Okay, so we're sort of TBD still and waiting. We think we think we get to keep it. We think we get to use it. We think there will be some version of an additional bidding round for locations that were not included originally because they were part of a different federal grant program but have since defaulted. And so we think we'll be able to go pick some of those locations up and use BEAD to cover them. Beyond that, we kind of have to wait to see what the allowable uses will be. I didn't say this earlier. There's one thought process that the guidance will be overly broad in its allowable uses, okay? And there's another idea out there that's going to be sort of very tailored with a very specific menu of options. We just simply don't know yet. But it could be a couple of weeks. It could be another month or two. We're not sure of the timing. I guess the hard information is we think we get to keep it and we think we get to use it. Now it's just a waiting game to see what they let us do with it, if that makes sense.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
Hope you all feel better.
Yeah, and be safe driving. Okay. I don't see anything else in the chat, and no one with their hand up, so we'll leave it there. Appreciate you being with us. As always, email will come out shortly from our team summarizing everything, including the PowerPoint deck. If you have anything in the meantime before next month's call, please reach out to us and we'll get back to you. Please be safe, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.